Alright, so we are going to be focusing on vendors, suppliers, and accounts payables today. We're going to be looking at setting up vendors and items. And those items are service items, inventory items, and non-inventory items. So service items are intangible items that you either purchase or sell. So if you're offering a service such as photocopying or you're preparing transcript, that would be an intangible item, therefore to be classified as a service item. If you call somebody in to service the air conditioning unit, that's a service, and that would be categorized as a service item. We're going to look at inventory items. Inventory items are items that you purchase with the intention of reselling. So it would be applicable to your tuck shop if you operate a tuck shop. Inventory items are also items that you plan to track. Therefore, you want to track it from purchase order generation to receiving the item to either disposing of the item or selling the item. Non-inventory items, which is the third item, as the name suggests, it is not an inventory item, but it is an item that is tangible. So these are the tangible items that you would purchase that you do not intend to resell or to track. So this could be chemicals that you purchase to clean the school, or it could be mark registers that you purchase for teachers that you don't want to track, or it could be protective equipment for the workmen. Anything that you purchase to be used that you don't intend to resell or to track. And we're going to look at creating vendors manually. If the time allows, we'll look at importing those vendors. And we are going to be looking at creating items manually, and also we're going to briefly look at importing items. We're also going to be looking at the procurement process, and the procurement process basically would involve creating a purchase order and so on, and from the moment you receive a quotation, and basically doing a purchase. We're going to be looking at receiving items purchased by the school, entering bills and paying bills, and also printing checks from QuickBooks. Also going to be looking at paying bills, and finally how to generate our accounts payables report. So this is basically a payables session. Alright, so we are going to begin. Alright, so before we start, as you can see on the screen is divided into 5 areas: vendors, customers, employees, company, and banking. Today we'll be focusing on the vendors section. However, as you can see, there's a flow chart, and the flow chart actually starts at entering bills. Alright, so what we are going to be doing now is to enable inventory and purchase orders, because the procurement process does not start at entering a bill. Procurement process basically start by getting quotation from various suppliers, deciding which supplier you'll purchase from, and preparing a purchase order to be sent to that supplier to purchase the items. So we are going to go to edit, and we are going to go to preferences, and here we are going to go to items and inventory, and we are going to basically turn on inventory and purchase orders. So to turn on inventory and purchase orders, the only thing you need to do is to check the box where you see inventory and purchase orders are active, and you're going to select OK, and QuickBooks will close all its windows, and you will have to go back to home to reopen the dashboard. And as you can see, the dashboard has more features. So now we are seeing the purchase order being active. You are seeing receive inventory, and you are seeing enter bills against inventory. Before we did that, we were only seeing entering bills and paying bills. So that is how you would basically enable items and purchase orders. We are now going to look at setting up vendors. So before we can do a purchase, we need to have our vendors in the system, or our suppliers. So to do so, you can go to vendors from the menu option, and you click on the vendor center. And the vendor center is basically where all your vendors' information would be stored. So to add a vendor, you can go to the top left and select new vendor. And here you can choose to add multiple vendors, which would mean you would copy and paste and import them, or you can just click on new vendor to add one vendor. Once you have done so, you would be basically required to enter or to fill in some information about the vendor. So you need to enter the vendor name, alright, so let's say ABC Electrical, and you can also enter it in the company name section as well. And you enter the vendor's phone number. And if there is a contact person, you can enter the name of the contact person. If you are going to be emailing your purchase order to this vendor, it will be also good for you to enter the name, the email address I should say, in this field. Alright, so most persons, when they are moving from one system to another system, they may have a balance that is outstanding for a particular vendor, or for some vendors. You can bring in those balances by doing a journal entry, or you can bring in those balances by entering it here. However, when you enter it here, you do not get the option of choosing a class. But if you enter it by journal entry, you will get the option of entering a class. So we're going to do one this way. So let's say 31st of August. There was an outstanding invoice for $50,000. You're going to enter the $50,000 as at the 31st of August. Payment settings allows you to define the terms. So based on your relationship and with your supplier would basically give you a set credit term and a set credit limit. So you can set that in the system. So let's say net 15, which would be 15 days from invoice date for payment to be made. And let's say the credit limit is $250,000. Alright, so you can enter that information as well. Once you have entered all that information, you can go ahead and save. We're going to add a few more. Alright, so we're just going to move quickly in adding the other vendors. So that's Wisinco. And we're not going to add all the details in the interest of time. So we have added 5 vendors, and we can basically import the rest of them, but we are going to show you how to actually bring in an opening balance by way of a journal entry. So to do a journal entry, we go to company and we select make general journal entry. And the journal entry number will be auto-populated, and the date will be also be pre-filled based on the last transaction date. We're now going to be looking at creating some items. And to create an item, you would go to the list menu and you click item list. And this would basically display a listing of all your items. If there are no items, you will see basically a blank screen. So to create an item, you can either click the drop down to the bottom left and click on new. Alternatively, you can right click anywhere on the blank screen and click on new. So what we are creating here is a service item, because we are going to be creating 3 types of items: service items, inventory part, and non-inventory part. So our first service item will be electricity expenses, electricity charges. Because electricity is actually a service, and we're not going to input a rate. It is very important that while creating the items, they are linked to the correct line item on the MOE budget or chart of accounts. So here we are going to try and link this to the most appropriate account, and I think we have an account called public utilities. Should be C3. We're going to select OK. Some of my accounts are not sub because they were just imported from Excel, but accounts need to be subbed. We're going to create another item, another service item. And let's say this is AC servicing. Description would be to service. Service air conditioning units. And we would select the relevant account that would be charged whenever we engage this service. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time to select the account. I'm just going to put it to an account that I think can work. I'm going to put it to other expenditure. Not that that is the correct account that it should go to. That is something that the school bursar and the principals would decide on, or the financial controllers for the different regions. Alright, so we can now select OK. We have created 2 items, 2 service items. We are now going to create 2 inventory items. Same procedure. It's just that we are going to select inventory part. And while a service item will have just 1 account, an inventory item will basically have 3 accounts to be selected: the income account, the inventory account, and the cost of sales account. So let's say we create an item. Let's say we create Pepsi. And normally you put the milliliter I'm not sure of the milliliter for Pepsi, but there can be different Pepsi. So you can say 250 ml. So you need to be very specific when you're creating the items. You can make the size be a part of the name and description. So let's say the cost of a Pepsi is $60 and the selling price is $100. And your preferred vendor is the vendor that you purchase from most of the time, or the vendor who gives you the best price. Say it's Celebration Brands, and the income account. When you sell a Pepsi, where does it fall on your income and expenditure statement? So we should be looking for something under B. And I think this would fall under could put it under profit from fundraising activities. Alright, I know it's on the budget, but I'm not seeing it here. Not sure if it was imported or not. So we're gonna find somewhere to put it. We're gonna put it to our other income, which would be a B4. B4 is actually other income, so we're gonna put it to B4 for now. But this would basically this would basically come under profit from Tuck Shop based on the MOE budget. Alright, so the asset account will remain as inventory asset, and the reorder point is the point at which you need to reorder. So whenever your inventory reaches the reorder point, the system will remind you that you need to reorder Pepsi. So let's put this at 24. So whenever you have 24 Pepsi available, the system will let you know that you need to order, so you're not out of stock. Alright, the on quantity is basically the quantity that you have on when you start using QuickBooks, or whenever you start using it to track inventory. So let's say you start using QuickBooks to track inventory as at the 1st of September. It means that based on your stock count on the 31st of August, you need to enter the on quantity here. So let's say there was 36, or there were 36 there. We need to enter that, and the system will basically calculate the value. So the value is basically the on quantity times the cost. So we have the value of the Pepsi is now $2,160, and that will be on your balance sheet. Alright, we are now going to select OK, And we're going to move on to creating another item. And this time we're going to create banana chips. You can copy and paste to speed up the process. Let's say it's for $40 and the selling price is $60. And I'm not sure which company would sell banana chips. Okay, so we're going to select OK. We're going to enter let's enter a reorder point of 24 as well. And let's say we have 24. Let's say we have 12 and on. Alright, so there you have it. So we created 2 inventory items. So now we're going to create 2 new non-inventory items. And non-inventory items are a bit simpler. So let's say we create an item called mark registers. And the cost is $500. We can put that to general class material. Let's say we create an item called bulb. Or fluorescent tube. So we have some 18-watt fluorescent tubes. We can create an item called fluorescent tube 18-watt. And this would be basically, we can say maintenance of the ground or the plant, because that would be basically electrical maintenance. Let's say this is $2,000 each. Alright, so we have basically created 6 items, 2 each. And now it's time for us to actually do a purchase order using the items that we have created. So to create a purchase order, we need to go back to the home screen, and once you have gotten your quotation from your supplier and you decide who you're going to purchase from, the next step would be basically to click on purchase orders and select the vendor. So let's say we are purchasing some fluorescent tubes and we are purchasing from ABC. Select ABC Electrical. Let's select the class. In this case, it will be school fees. And we select the item that we are purchasing and the quantities. Let's say we want a dozen of them. We'd enter the quantity. Once you have done so, you're going to select save and close. So we have done the purchase order part of it. Let's now move on to receiving. So once you have done a purchase order, send it to the supplier. The next step in the process would be to receive the inventory, or to receive the item. We're going to click on receive inventory. You're going to click on receive with bill. And once you click on the supplier, system is going to tell you that there are open purchase orders existing for the vendor. If you want to receive against one or more of these orders, you're going to select yes. You're going to select the purchase order that you want to receive, and then you're going to select OK. Here you are going to enter the invoice number from the supplier, and if there are any variations in terms of the quantity, you can change it there. So you ordered 12 and 12 was delivered, 12 was invoiced. You just need to enter the invoice number and the date on the invoice. And let's say the invoice date is a date in September 29th. System would basically calculate the due date based on the terms that is in the database for the supplier. You can have a memo to say lights for auditorium, and you select save and close. Once you have received the items, basically it becomes a liability. So if you go to home and we go to chart of accounts, what you will see is that accounts payable is now $204,000. If we should zoom into the accounts payable, and we should click on show open balance, it will show all the bills that are outstanding. And if we click on one line, we get a more what you call it now, a more compact view. So in this accounts payables account, you are seeing the opening balance entries, which is the $30,000 for Celebration Brands, the $130,000 for JPS, the opening balance of $180,000. I'm looking at the wrong column, sorry. The opening balance of $30,000 for Celebration Brand, $100,000 for JPS, $50,000 for ABC, and the transaction for $24,000, which brings our total payables to $204,000. So that is the payables register. So if we need to pay this bill, we'll move on to the next step in the flow chart. We're going to skip enter bills against inventory. That is not relevant here. We're going to go to pay bills. And once you click on pay bills, what will happen is you will see a listing of all the bills to be paid. And here you can actually select your payment method, and you can select the bank account that you are going to be using to pay the bills. So let's say we are going to pay ABC, and it's fees, school fees account. We're going to select the school fees account, and you are going to basically select the two bills that you are paying, which is the opening balance bill and the new bill, and you are going to click on assign check number. So once you click on pay selected bills, what the system does, it will prepare one check. It will not cut two checks for ABC. Once it is the same supplier, it will group the amounts. So what you need to do is just to enter the check number and select OK. So there you have it. The bill has been paid, and we can verify it by going to the chart of accounts, and we can look back at the accounts payable register now, and as you can see, it is now $130,000. And where you have ABC Electrical, you are not seeing anything there because it has been paid. So let's look at the cash book, the cash account. So if we look at the fees account that we pay the bill from, you will also see that the payment of $74,000 was made, and the balance has been reduced from $5 million to $4.92 million. Alright, so that is basically how you would enter a bill and pay a bill. We're going to be looking at the accounts payables report. And the accounts payables report is pretty simple. All reports in QuickBooks are found under reports. So you would go to reports, and you would go to vendors and payables, and you would go to the relevant report. And a very good report to bring up is the vendor balance detail. This report basically shows a kind of a statement view of your vendors. It shows the invoices, and it shows the payments that were made. So this can allow you, this basically will allow you to see if you have made a payment to a vendor, because a lot of schools, I know, make double payments in error. So with this kind of report, you can actually look at the vendor transaction history and get a better analysis of the history. Alright, so this is a very good report. It is called the vendor balance detail. And to generate it, you go to reports, vendors and payables, and you click on vendor balance detail. So this is the detail of the $130,000 that is outstanding.